Because for instance, with the tiers, if you become ineligible and you lose your place, you don't, even if you become immediately eligible that same day or the next day, if that were possible, you don't automatically get your benefits back. You go to the end of the line, and God knows where the end of that line is right now, or how long it would take to get your benefits restored. Even under really good circumstances, you're looking at a delay and an interruption of benefits of 3 to 6 months, most probably. It is not a situation you want your loved ones to be in. But you can avoid that by taking these planning steps that we've discussed. Lots of folks say, when should I do this? I recommend that you should start the planning process as soon as possible, because it will always take longer than you expect, and there will likely be interruptions, or life happens and you'll start and then you'll set it down and then you'll pick it up. But start as soon as possible. For this reason primarily. No one is talking about changing the rules regarding special needs trust right now, but of course that could happen tomorrow. But if that happens, usually what Congress and the legislature do is when they make changes in this area of the law, they will not make them retroactive. What they'll say is the new rules take effect October 1, July 1. Everything that's established up to that point, we will continue to play by the old rules with those things. So if you get something set up right now, and you don't have to have tons of money in the trust to make that happen. You can have $10, you can have $100 in the trust to make it legally effective. That way your chances of being grandfathered in, if there are any changes down the road, are greatly increased. What I suggest to folks is when you're sitting down to begin the planning process and you're thinking about what you want to have go into a special needs trust, think of it like a tool. And particularly for parents of kids with disabilities, think of this like an IEP. Because that's what it is. It is a tool to get your loved one from one place to another in their life, to be able to provide them with the tools and the resources necessary to get them from here to there. And that's what it can truly be. If you approach it with that kind of an attitude, rather than just 15, 20 pages of dense legalese with a lot of provisions that are difficult to grasp, difficult to understand. If you go into that with that mindset of, no, I want this to be a tool for my loved one so that they can have the highest quality of life, so that they can have the greatest degree of independence possible, so that they can have the greatest amount of resources available to them, and so that they can have as many folks who love and care about them involved in their life as possible, which we'll get to in a second. That's what I want. That's what I want for my loved one. If you go into it with that attitude, then you can truly, truly make it a very effective tool. A lot of folks say, where do I start? What I suggest is simply sitting down at the kitchen table with a pad of paper, or at the computer, or at the beach, wherever you do your thinking, and sit down and just sketch out, what is your loved one's life like now? What would you like it to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Who are some folks who are involved in your loved one's life now that you would like to see involved later on down the road? Or maybe they might have some younger siblings that may not be able to take responsibility right now, but hopefully 5, 10 years down the road they would be willing to do that. Put that kind of stuff down. What kinds of resources are they likely going to need? Are they going to need a lot of extra resources? Are they going to need minimal resources? Do you think they'll be able to hold employment and earn a living themselves, or maybe not? But put those types of things down, and then take that outline, take that sketch to your advisor to help you prepare the special needs trust. Now, I suggest that you take it to an attorney. Not because I'm an attorney and I used to practice law, but because attorneys are required, as a condition of keeping their licenses to practice, to put your interests first. Now, there are a lot of very well-meaning people out there in the financial marketplace who will offer to prepare these types of documents for you, but none of them have that same requirement of putting your interests first. They can legally and quite properly put their interests before yours, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way our capitalistic system works. I don't have a problem with that. But in this type of a situation where you've got this much at stake, you want somebody drawing up these documents who can give you independent advice as to what's best for you, not for them. So that's why I say, go see an attorney, make sure they have malpractice insurance. Attorneys in Florida are not required to carry malpractice insurance. Again, why do you want that? If something happens, if an attorney makes a mistake, if a special needs trust gets screwed up in some fashion, and it can certainly happen, you want to make sure that there's someone with a deep pocket around who can help undo some of the damage that's going to be caused by that. And the damage that's likely going to be caused by that is that, again, down the road, your loved one is going to be kicked off their benefits because of a mistake in drafting documents. If that happens, you want to make sure there's an insurance policy there. So that's why I say, go see an attorney with a malpractice policy and who is experienced in drafting these documents. Now, there are various resources. Consult the Florida Bar, consult your local bar associations. Be happy to help you here at FND to give you ideas as to experienced counsel who you may be able to consult on these things. But there are few attorneys in the state who really specialize in this type of stuff or prepare special needs trusts on anything like a regular basis. But it's important to go see someone who has that kind of experience, who can really understand the workings of the special needs trust and how to maximize things for you or for your family members with disabilities. So, that having been said, it's their responsibility then to take that information that you bring to them and turn it into the legalese that will be legally effective to make the special needs trust work for your loved ones. Now, there are several different types of special needs trusts, and I'm not going to go through those in detail, but know this. They all do the same thing. And that same thing is what we started out with when we were talking about trusts in terms of special needs trusts exist for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to allow people with disabilities to put money and property in a trust and still hang on to Medicaid, still hang on to SSI, those types of payments. That's what all of them do. The principal difference in the types of special needs trusts is where the money comes from to set up those trusts. Does it come from parents? Does it come from grandparents? Does it come from somebody other than the person with disabilities? Well, if that's true, then there are less restrictions on that money. If the money to set up the trust comes from the person with disabilities themselves, then it typically goes into something called a payback trust. And that's important for this reason. You can still put your money in there, you can spend it down to the very last penny. No need to keep any money in there. But the law says if there is money left in there, and the person with disabilities passes away with money left in there, then before that money can go anywhere else, before it can go to brothers or sisters, aunts or uncles, wherever, before it can go anywhere else, then the government has to be paid back for all the money that Medicaid has spent on behalf of that person with disabilities during their lifetime. Now, that's an important restriction. So you can avoid that right now under the law of Florida by starting planning earlier. If the person with disabilities doesn't end up with that money in their hands, if you engage in planning now and you set up a special needs trust now that's funded with your money, not the person with disabilities, then right now there are not those kinds of restrictions. And you can direct that money go other places than have to pay it back to the government.